Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Past the Barb. Today is Monday, November 28th. I am your host, Adam Bartusek, and to my right, at the top of the box, his first time at the top of the box, we've got Mr. Ryan Pinkalla.
I'm moving up in the world, baby.
He finally did it. He finally did it. He made it to the top of the screen. And newly demoted to the bottom, we have Will.
I kind of like it down here. You got more room. I got elbow room, you know?
Yeah, it fits you being in Montana. Last episode, you talking about wanting to get people away from you. So we wanted to put you down to the bottom.
Stay out.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody who's been giving us great feedback about the podcast. Once again, continue to rate and subscribe and all that. We appreciate it. And tell your friends. It's a holiday season. Spread some love. But we're just going to dive into it right now. I think we all just got back from Thanksgiving with our families. I am currently getting over a little bit of illness. So if all of a sudden my voice cracks out, someone will have to take over. But yeah, how was your guys' Thanksgivings?
Mine was solid, man. I honestly just straight up skipped Thanksgiving this time, though.
Yeah, that's right, because you went hunting, and we'll talk about that later on in the pod.
But anyway, so yeah, didn't really do a thing.
Oh, Pink, we just had major issues with your Wi-Fi.
We lost Pink for a second. I'll take over. My Thanksgiving was good. I traveled back to Minnesota, so that was nice for the most part. I had some travel incidents happen yesterday, but we'll get into that when we come back around the round table. But yeah, overall, my Thanksgiving, it was nice to be home. I haven't been back in Minnesota since like Christmas of last year, so it was nice to be back, see the family and the friends. So.
Was Gull Lake iced over?
It was not. There's people fishing in boats out there. She's wide open.
Yeah, it should change in the next week or so, I would assume. But
yeah, there was guys fishing on North Long. 371 Bay had ice. You could walk out there. Locally, that was about it, though. I mean, you had to go more towards, Pequot North, I think, to find ice. But yeah,
that's pretty typical.
Yep.
Yeah, but anyway, so sorry about that. We definitely, so skip Thanksgiving pretty much. Gonna probably have a do-over Thanksgiving this week sometime. Call her good.
It's not the worst thing,
Yeah. But
nice.
we'll get that turkey burned up good.
There you go. Well, I spent the week back in like 5-6 days back in New Prague with the family. I haven't been back for that long in probably honest to God, like a couple of years, because it's been so much filming and just, I mean, I've always been kind of close to home, but not just like gone to the parents and stayed there. So that was fun. I definitely felt really, really old though. So I did the good old Wednesday night. I was like, I'll go downtown and see if I run into anybody I know. Oh my God, dude. I walked into the bar and I thought I was in a kindergarten class and I didn't know anybody. And I got scared and I turned around and just went to the Old Towny bar. And I sat there and had like a couple beers. Waldron came and met up with me. And that one was a bit better. But yeah.
You're old. Yeah, it means you're getting old.
Yeah. So the whole Wednesday before thing, this was probably my last year attempting that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't run into anybody. So that was kind of sad actually.
Yeah.
But it was still fun.
In Brainerd, the big night is Friday night, at least for like my buddies in that gang. We go up to Nisswa to the Pickle. Have you guys ever been to the Pickle in Nisswa? It's awesome.
Yeah, the Pickle's awesome.
Yeah, the Pickle's awesome. So, Wednesday I really didn't go to the bar Wednesday. Just went to one of my buddies' houses and burned some piles, which was always fun and nice. But then Friday night was kind of the big night. So nice to see everybody and do that thing. So
yeah, no, for sure. But diving into some current events, timely news, and what's going on around us. First of all, I guess just making a few Crappie Chronicles announcements for, people who are kind of fans and have jumped on already. But we will be we have two things going on at St. Paul. Pink, don't make me forget these. We have a seminar on Saturday from 1 to 2. It'll be 5 steps how to catch your PB crappie. And then Sunday, if you want to come hang out, we got a meet and greet in the clam booth from 11 to 1. And we're giving away like a ton of free stuff. We got a lot of free stuff.
Mega list. And I think it's going to be a good time, honestly. Like St. Paul, last year was kind of slow, to be honest. But like you were saying a couple weeks ago, like that couple shows that have gone down have had like really, really good attendance. So I'm kind of psyched that like there might be a ton of people that come out again this year, like it has been, the past 3 years ago when it was just going nuts. But
Yeah, I think we're gonna have really big crowds this year. It should be fun. There's also some wild games downtown when we're there, and that always makes the Friday and Saturday nights pretty fun. So next week, be tuned in for we will have a full St. Paul Ice Show recap, and I'm sure our nightly events will be interesting to recap as well.
Yeah, and if you've never been there, definitely go. It's fun, super fun. Tons of like new gear and stuff, and just like thousands and thousands of people that just love ice fishing.
So that's this coming weekend, right?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep, and it's downtown St. Paul at the River Center.
Yeah, I've been to it one time. I worked it for Target Walleye way back in the day, but that was the only time I went.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's nice, honestly, like just being in the industry and like seeing it's like the one time a year you get to see all the guys who ice fish, because then everyone goes and makes their own ice content for 2 months and then you all disappear. So it's like it's the one nice thing to kind of see everybody.
Definitely.
So we got that all coming out. Yeah, and I mean we announced all our rods, the new beer last week, announcing that'll be done here like this week. We just finalized the logo and everything. But other timely news. Actually I forgot to send this over to all the guys beforehand, but Pink texted me this and I felt like it had to have been covered. How is Bang going out of business?
Okay.
Because I feel like Pinkalla keeps them in business by himself.
So I don't know what's going on, dude. I text you that because like it was been impossible to find for like a little while. Like everywhere's out of it. And then I looked it up and then it was like the whatever parent company of that was filing bankruptcy and they were like not sure what they were gonna do. And then it just like went quiet. And then like a week ago, Bang's back.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm not complaining and it's back.
Okay, so maybe Bang isn't going out of business, but I know like
but whoever owned Bang,
know what we're talking about with Bang energy drinks, right? Like you've consumed a couple of Bangs in your day, correct?
Yeah, I'm not a big Bang guy, but I have had them, and obviously they were for a while there. They were super popular. I mean, they were all over social media, like every single good-looking girl.
And we lost Will's Wi-Fi now.
Ooh,
Will's Wi-Fi went out for a second.
How's that bottom of the screen go?
Really?
Yeah, but no, they were super you're back now, but they were super popular on social media because that company basically exploded because their whole marketing campaign was like sponsoring really hot Instagram models.
It was hot chicks, and it worked for sure.
Yes, it got all of us. But anyways, like the other thing is those things like they fire you up. Like they got a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, I mean, there's like other like energy drinks or like whatever stuff. Like I don't just drink those, right? But that's the like heavy artillery when it's like I need to do some things or I'm driving and like I need to survive.
Yeah, like it's 2:30 in the morning and I need to get home from Iowa.
Yeah.
Like you grab a Bang.
My favorite is I still love the white monsters. Are you guys a white monster guys?
I was until I got on the Bang train.
The white lightnings. You ever you dabble in the white monsters, the ultras?
I used to, but then there was I don't know. I just kind of got off the monster train. I did like the T ones for a bit, and then I don't know. For some reason, I must have read like an article or two that said monster were like the worst for me. So then I was like, oh, Bang are better, and then I went to them. So the marketing definitely got me. That's really what it came down to,
for sure.
But I've been on a big rain kick, and then
see, it's not the same.
No,
you guys ever had have you had the Ziences? It's XYIENCE. Zients.
Is that a Montana thing?
Maybe. They're good though. I would recommend them if you ever see them.
Dude, and I will say the first time I ever like had one, it was when Brock Schwartzkopf and myself, we drove to Milwaukee to go like kayak fishing or whatever, and I'd never had one before. We stopped in Hudson on our way out of town. And he's like, dude, yeah, you got to try one of these. Rainbow Unicorn. I drank it. I don't even think I blinked all the way to Milwaukee. And I was like, my life's different now.
I remember you getting home from that trip and asking me, because you know how many all-nighters I was pulling, doing like all the editing and stuff. And you were like, have you tried this bang stuff? And I was
Dude,
like, no. And you're like, dude, you got to try it.
My mind was bent, dude. I was like, this is
It's got to be so bad for you, but it is so much caffeine.
Oh,
But yeah, like Bang, they should be a sponsor. They keep everything rolling. Last winter, I was heavy into Red Bulls, and those are like the worst.
Yeah, I get down with the Red Bull still occasionally.
But no, so those now I basically just drink that Mountain Ops stuff that Pink got me on last winter. That stuff's good, and I don't feel like death.
It's not as heavy, but it works.
You just gotta kind of prep. Like you just gotta prepare, and then you'll be good. Rather than like the Bang is good for like
emergency,
like break seal.
Get it in me.
Emergency.
Inject it into my veins.
Yeah. Okay. But anyways,
Bang's back.
Bangs. Apparently they're back. They're not out of business. But if you see them going out at your local store, like just make sure you buy them. Keep them in business. Give them some help. They're getting back on loans from paying way too many Instagram models. Yeah. But anyways, Will, what do you got going on current event wise? We'll get to what in the world's going on later, but current event wise.
Well, I had something happen to me yesterday when I was traveling that I wanted to get your guys' kind of insight on it to see if I was in the wrong or if I was in the right. I think I was in the right, but I wanted to get some intel. So yesterday I flew from Minneapolis to Billings. I had to fly into Billings instead of Bozeman because it was way cheaper. But anyways, I boarded at like 7 p.m. and I had, I upgraded my seat. So I got a window seat, right? And I'm like stoked on that because I'm like, all right, I'm going to sleep on this plane ride home. And I'm like walking down the aisle and like get to my aisle and there's 3 people sitting there already. So I'm like, oh, am I wrong? You know, I'm looking at my ticket. I'm like, oh. So I look at the lady who's sitting in the window seat. I'm like, hey, I don't know if we're like mixed up or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, like we kind of wanted to all sit together. And I was like, okay. And I like look in the row behind them because she kind of pointed behind. Well, the only seat that was left open was a middle seat in the row behind them. And so then I was kind of like, I was just like, well, I was like, I got the window seat. So then they like got up, like begrudgingly, like stood up and were kind of like huffing and puffing that they had to move out of my seat that I paid extra to get. And then I like sat down in the window seat and the lady like sat in the middle next to me. And she was like, yeah, we were just like kind of hoping that like, like very like passive aggressive. Yeah. And I just like looked at her and I'm like exhausted. You know, I'm just like, well, I was like, I paid extra for the seat and I want the window. So have a nice flight. And I just like put my headphones in. But like, am I in the wrong for like not wanting to give up the window for a middle seat? What would you guys have done?
Dude, I think
Will,
you're
turn
right.
your mic down a hair. But yes, you are definitely. I would agree you're in the right. There's certain rules on planes, and like here's the thing. I don't think they're wrong for trying, but like if you get caught and it's like, hey, I want my window seat, it's like get out of the way and don't make a fuss of it. Like I get you probably wanted that seat and that's why you did it, but it's like. You got to know, like that's when me and Alyssa flew to California. We just got given our seats or whatever. We were back row in a flight that had no windows, and yeah, I wanted to go sit somewhere else, but guess what? I got to sit in a back row that didn't have windows.
Right, and here was like my thing on it. Like, had it
turn your mic up a hair,
dude. I can't. How is that?
You're good.
Okay, this is the halfway point, so I think I'm just gonna leave it here.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing would be like if it was like a family with like little kids, then I would have been more inclined to have been like, oh, like whatever, it's fine. But it was like older people, like there was no little kids, like it was just like I just didn't feel like I needed to give it up. So I didn't. But
dude, you were right. And plus, here's the thing: the move there, if you're trying to scoop somebody else's seat, is you sit in your own seat first, let them sit down, and then say, hey. Like, me and my sister or whatever trying to sit together. Like, would you be cool if we moved? They almost always say yes.
Yes.
But when you steal it, then people are like, what the are you doing?
I know. I was like, are you guys trying to pull a fast one on me? You know, like, I mean,
And not even like they were like, oh, we didn't know. They were just like, yeah, I just sat here figuring you'd be chill with it.
yeah, they're like, yeah, we just wanted to sit together.
Yeah,
And I
no,
was
it's like, nah, back
oh,
up.
then the other dude, the other funny part is like coming into Billings, there was like some pretty bad turbulence. Like it was rocking and rolling pretty good. And the lady next to me, her husband was right behind her in the other middle seat. So they both had middle seats on their ticket. He was like holding her hand through the chair, like behind her, you know. And
At that point, you kind of felt like an asshole, but you were still giggling to yourself.
No, I didn't. They shouldn't have been that. I felt better about myself at that point.
This
I'm
chick's
like,
freaking out, and Will's like, "You think we're gonna crash?"
like, dude, I'm in the fetal position, like heavy breathing. Like, where's the life jackets?
Should have pulled out the air deal. Just
Yeah, I'm like clawing at the ceiling, you know. But yeah, so I mean, that was my travel, and then
you just look at her. You're like, am I just getting lightheaded, or is that you too?
I should
just kind of just slowly
The
eyes
cabin's
roll back.
definitely losing pressure, isn't it?
I should have just puked everywhere.
Yeah, you gonna use that bag or?
Yeah, oh, give me that thing. Just like right in her purse. And then the other thing that sucked yesterday was, so I flew home with Joe. He lives in Helena, my brother. And so we had parked at the airport in Billings. It's about a 2-hour drive to Bozeman. It's a really easy drive. It's not bad at all. Well, of course, when we land, there's a snowstorm naturally. And then we're just like driving head on into it the whole entire way. So instead of 2 hours, it took like 4 hours, like doing like 45 miles an hour on 90, like just can't see anything white out. So it was kind of a nightmare travel day, but made it back. So
That is always fun. Nightmare travels days are the best travel days.
Yeah.
Pink, what do you got current event wise?
Man, I pretty much just got back from this trip. Like I feel like every time I go on one of these, we're in somewhere where there's like zero service or anything. So I don't even know like anything that's going on. It's like you just come back into civilization. But yeah, man, just was in Montana for pretty much went out there Wednesday, just got back literally last night. So a little rip out there, mule deer hunting, which I think we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll dive into that in a bit.
But yeah, that pretty much is gonna like wrap my fall hunting season. I think there's like
How much meat did you put in your freezer? Like that's what I want people to know. Like your hunting season is all about meat season, which you also film on your YouTube channel. People should check out and see how to cook what you shoot or catch, whatever. But yeah, how much meat did you actually put in your freezer, Pink?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much like fall is just kind of like the goal is to try to get enough meat for like the whole year. So you know, me and my dad go on a bunch of trips together, or some of them I just do on my own to try to just like meet up, you know. But yeah, I think this year we're probably, I don't know, all in probably somewhere around like 300 to 400 pounds, probably all total. Which
Nice.
like, I mean, that's for like the whole, you know, everything September through now, which was kind of like a slow year overall. I mean, normally we punch a few more tags than we did this year, but it was just kind of a lean season. But we're good. I mean, like we had a pretty successful past couple of years, so we had a lot of like carryover too. So we still have a ton, like other than what we just got this year, which is great. But you know, you don't knock it out of the park every fall, so it's nice to have you know, some backup, especially for like, you know, we don't really buy a lot of meat at all. We just hunt and use what we got. So yeah, probably somewhere in there. I mean, we don't really like weigh it out, but we got 2 like mega freezers that are full, so that's good.
Well, that's successful then.
Yeah.
No. So then other timely news that I mean I feel like I have to just dive into it after last week. I love PJ Fleck again. I'm back. It didn't take long.
You're all over the map, dude.
Now, so Minnesota is officially better than Wisconsin at football. It took a while, but I'm glad we're finally here. The Axe is home. We beat the Packers. The Packers sucked. They put Jordan Love in. Season's over. It's great. It's great. It's great to be on top. But no, I was loving. It was really fun, honestly, watching the Gophers on Saturday, winning the Axe back. It was just, I mean, if we had listened to me last week on the podcast, like it was the exact flipped the script of what I've kind of been saying. Like, they were the team that they had been 3 or 4 years ago on Saturday, and it was almost like a little bit of a shock to the system, and PJ got everything rolling again. So it was fun to watch. Like, honestly, it was just really fun to watch. I'm excited for next year now, so can't wait to get my hopes and dreams torn apart.
Yeah, I'm happy they won. I watched the game. They looked pretty good. So
Ooh, Will is on some really sketchy Wi-Fi right now.
But we can hear him good. We can hear
There
him
you
good.
go. Now I can hear you.
you can?
Yeah. No, seriously, now I can. But you were chopping in and out pretty bad.
Well, I'm just gonna say, I know I talked about this last podcast, but like that trophy's sick.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a lot of like border battles and rivalry trophies, but that's got to be one of the top ones. Well,
there's like 3 or 4 other Paul Bunyan rivalries, which I think are really stupid because ours is the first trophy rivalry in the NCAA, like Paul Bunyan's Axes.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you get your own? You know?
Yeah. But like, that's, I mean, all-time great, one of the best, like, iconic college trophies right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Just go chop down the other goalposts. It's always
Yeah.
cool. Always cool. It was very fun to watch. I was with all my Bartusic side of the family on Saturday, which that's the side that has Gopher season tickets and like goes to all the games. So it was a really good Saturday. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch. Will, what did you think of the game?
I thought they looked pretty good throughout the whole thing. I mean, I expected them to win, so I'm glad they did. I mean, I don't know. I thought they were the better team. So I like their
quarterback. I was just scared of how much we ran against Iowa.
I like the quarterback. I think he's going to be good next year. I mean, I like that we have a young quarterback who can throw the ball and run the ball as opposed to Tanner Morgan, who can't really do either of those things all that well. So,
yeah, I think them opening up the playbook, it just really helped. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So, I mean, that was basically all I had. Vikings did exactly what we thought they'd do. Came back, won. Life moves on. Here we go, baby. Number 1 seed. We're coming for you. And, yeah. Sports-wise, life's been good. And we don't have Hahner here to talk about the death of Green Bay. So,
well, I will say I listened to that Packer game while I was driving home yesterday, and it made me want to yank the wheel into the ditch. So that's pretty much where I was.
Yeah, there's not too many complaints for Minnesota sports fans right now in terms of football.
It'll happen eventually, but
oh god, yes,
it's good. I mean, the funny thing is the Timberwolves don't look good at all, but then they were expected to probably be the best this year, but they look terrible. But it's whatever. It's been fun. It'll all come to a hurtling end soon. But
well, you know, none of these Minnesota teams know how to close. So
no, we don't.
Oh, that's just it.
We will see what happens. Hopefully they can figure it out. Will, the one thing I did find was hilarious, and I have to bring up since Hahner isn't here to say anything about it. Isn't it convenient that suddenly in week like 11 or 12, Aaron Rodgers has been playing with an injury since week 4 or 5?
It's the classic storyline, you know. There has
every time.
And I don't doubt that he has been, but it's just like convenient, the timing of it all.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like every single time. And I never wish for someone to get injured. Never want that. Never talk about a man's job. I just say it's very interesting how this has happened before.
Yeah, the timing's convenient, but now I assume is he out is he going to play any more this season, or is he just going to be done?
We'll probably go hang out and do ayahuasca or whatever that stuff is.
Yeah, that worked out for him pretty well this year. So
well, we'll see what Jordan Love can do. I mean, they put him in for like 2 seconds and he threw 3 passes, 1 touchdown for like 63 yards or something.
Yeah, that wide receiver that it seemed like everybody was saying they didn't have any wide receivers earlier in the year, he seems pretty good.
Well, it's just because they got him the ball finally.
Yeah. What's his name?
Christian Watson.
Watson.
Yeah, NDSU guy. Yeah,
I think so.
So we'll see. Maybe Love's got some game, and they'll put him in, and
maybe he takes over while the Packers pay Aaron Rodgers $90 million in dead cap next year.
We'll see.
That'll be really fun.
Anyways, folks, onward and upward.
We'll move on. Sorry, there's your sports talk. Okay, timely news. Did anyone have anything else? Otherwise, I think we dive into Will's Wiki find of the week.
Let's do it.
Okay, so did you guys have a chance to check this out? Did anybody look at it?
I did. I breezed through it, and I was. She's a good one.
It makes you think a little bit. Yeah.
I have questions.
Educate
Yes.
me. I didn't. I should have read up on it, and I didn't. So
Okay, so
didn't
it's
do my
called the and I'm gonna butcher this a little bit, but the Dyatlov Pass incident. Dyatlov, I think that's how you say it. It's Russian. So this happened in Russia in 1959. There was 9 young Soviet hikers who were doing some sort of exploratory trip in some mountain range in Russia. And anyways, they go out and then nobody hears from them for a while. So they send out a search party. Well, they find them like a couple weeks later. And they're like, oh, like, hypothermia got to them. But then the way that some of them died and the injuries that they sustained, like there's some questions to be asked. Okay. So I'm just going to see if I can find this and read
Like this.
through.
This is like a movie, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
has there
okay.
been a movie made after this or anything, or is it something that like should eventually be made into a movie? You're saying?
Well, there's I think there's some low budget films maybe made about it. And now there's supposedly an explanation for what happened, but that's contested too. So we can get in that when we recap at the end. But anyways, so these rescuers, they show up on the scene February 26, 1959. The first thing they notice is that the tent had been cut open from the inside and that it was nearly destroyed and that most of the team's belongings, including most of their shoes, had been left in their camp. So they left like in a hurry. Then they found 8 or 9 sets of footprints, many of them clearly made by people with either barefoot or socks on their feet. And they followed that track for almost a mile away from the camp. And then, okay, so then at the forest edge under a large cedar, the investigators found the remains of the first 2 bodies. So the first 2 guys were shoeless and only had their underwear on, and they were froze to death. And then the next 3 guys, kind of same scenario. But then,
and in the article there that I read, it said it was like 20 below zero, right?
yes, cold.
So like they had a lot of questions about like why are these people like not wearing any clothes and stuff.
Yeah. Why don't they have their shoes on? Like all that stuff. Why? Like a couple guys were just in their underwear. So then let's see where I can find this because the injury thing is the weird part. So,
oh no, Will's Wi-Fi just popped out. Okay,
Dude,
now he's back.
Fine. He's
You're good.
fine.
I'm back. All right. So, anyways, like they find the people, and the weird thing was, okay, here it is. So, a couple of them, 2 of them had major chest fractures that could have only been caused by an immense force comparable to that of a car crash. Okay, weird, right? Not just like freezing to death. And
Question.
then, yeah. And then it says in the most gruesome part of the whole incident, one of the hikers was missing her tongue, eyeballs, and parts of her lips, as well as facial tissue and fragments of her skull bone. Like it was like someone cut her tongue out and her eyeballs. Like that, not
That's
not
twisted,
like she just,
dude.
not like she just froze peacefully.
Yeah.
So this is obviously like in the late 50s. So then the Russian government does, and there's all kinds of, like, I could spend like, there's hours worth of material here, but the Russian government like does an investigation and they can't figure it out. So their conclusion,
they claimed that, right?
yeah, their conclusion was that their demise was like, what did they call it? They said like a natural disaster was the culprit, but they couldn't come up.
They said it was an avalanche, right? Or potentially.
Yes. And now that's what the research, fast forward to like 2019 now. And that's what they said. Some sort of, there's a name for it, like a low level avalanche could have done this. But to me, it doesn't explain like, why is her tongue missing and why just one of them, you know?
Yeah. Well, and also like then it begs the question like, okay, if there was an avalanche, how did they just show up and there were still like footprints in the snow?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, like usually if there's
Right?
an avalanche there, you can see where the slide was, like
Yeah.
why is their tent still there? Like
Yep.
why is their belongings still there? So I don't know. Was it supernatural? There's a couple different theories. One of them is like that the native people to that region did it. I kind of doubt that. I mean, you think you would have found some other footprints or whatever. I don't know. It's worth looking into.
Pink, what do you think it is?
I don't know, dude. I mean, based on what I read in the thing, because there's like you can keep scrolling and it's just like all these little like conspiracy, whatever type things. But there was one in there that said that they thought it may have been some sort of like Russian military thing, like that they tested something there and these people just got caught up in it, and then the government.
Oh, now we lost Pink's bike. But yes, I feel like anytime you're in Russia, that is the potential thing to happen. Like,
Yes. And
Yeah.
this was also prime Cold War 1959, like Soviet Union,
Like
so
USSR, like
yeah, there's some wild stuff happening. Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
but I don't know. I mean, it makes you think.
That's a cool
Could have
one.
been.
it's definitely a
aliens.
good like one to noodle on. Like if you're one of these people that likes to go down the rabbit hole on stuff, this one looks like it could have like endless
For sure.
little nuggets out there.
We barely scratched the surface. Like I said, you could spend hours and hours reading into this thing. But yeah, it's called the Dyatlov Pass incident. Dyatlov Pass.
And
if
they
you're bored
have
at home,
photos and stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
Of the
People
whole
are
thing.
in rough shape. Yeah, it looks like a horrible, horrible way to die. But that was my wiki find of the week. So
there's Will's wiki find of the week, and we will definitely keep this segment going because it's short and it's always interesting. So, anyways, going on to what in the world is going on. This is where we kind of dive into the world, typically mainly the outdoors world, but just stuff that's going on in the world, not necessarily just current events going on in our lives, but all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to lead off with just number one thing here based off of something we talked about a few weeks ago. And I don't have a ton of information on this just because it was just a brief email that was sent out to people who are part of MLF members, which for people who have reached out saying like, I just only rip MLF, I'm literally fishing the Toyota series next year. So like I am also helping and going that way. I feel like that's the best side to fish right now, but it also makes some very funny decisions. And the number one thing right now is the MLF BPT, so Bass Pro Tour, that we were talking about. They just switched to the 5 fish, and we were talking about how that should be exciting and actually interesting. Well, they're doing their catch, weigh, release. They are now recruiting officials for every one of their locations. And one of the things that MLF always prided themselves on the last however many years was all their officials were the same official crew all year. And like they were paid and, well, I don't know necessarily how much they were paid, but they were all like taught the same way and did all the same events rather than new people at each event who maybe just really look up to these people and want to follow an event. So I'm curious what you guys think, because like obviously I filmed the Champions Tour up here, and they use high school anglers, to be completely honest, and they do a great job. However, like when it comes down to who's winning, like typically there's a camera crew like myself or someone else in the boat watching what's happening when they win. So I'm just curious what you guys think of the whole them recruiting boat officials for weighing all these events. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I'll go for this one. I mean, to be honest, I think it's good. I think like we talked about plenty of times before, like how do you elevate fishing as a sport, right? It's like I think this gives a little bit more integrity to like the scoring system and like how, guys are acting like during the whole tournament, right? Because realistically, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see or even know about, right? But it's like if you have these, I mean, yeah, there was like marshals before that were kind of like volunteers, right? Like that was not really they weren't like, I don't know, if you consider them like referees, right, for each boat.
Yeah.
that these guys are fully aware of like all the rules and how this is supposed to work and what stuff is against the rules. Because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff where guys like self-report, like if they break a rule, they're calling the tournament official to be like, hey, I just did this, right? So I think having some other people like having eyes on this stuff, because I'm sure there's tons of stuff that goes on, that goes unreported, right? Like somebody breaks a rule and they're just like, nobody saw it.
Yeah. Well, what the biggest thing with these is, so like, yes, they have marshals for the Elite Series, and then sometimes they don't even have enough marshals. So there's nobody in the boats of people, and that's where you're like, okay, it'd be nice to have marshals all the time, but that's why they make guys run GoPros now, and they'll submit full 8 hours or whatever if they don't have a marshal and that's asked for. But my biggest thing is that and like, it could be really good, and I think it is good. It's just something that's gonna be asked is they're bringing in, say, locals from, say they're going to Gunnersville, locals of Gunnersville, Alabama, and those are the marshals for that event, or the officials. Those are the ones who are weighing the fish, and then they go to Lake Fork, and there's going to be new ones at Lake Fork.
Oh, it's not just one group for the whole season.
It's not just one group. It
See, I don't
was
like
the
that,
one
then.
group for the whole year before. Now they're doing different ones for each location. That was it. That was how I read the email that was sent to me anyways, asking if I wanted to be one.
See, that I don't think is great. I think if it was the same group for each event, then yeah, I think that's legit, because then it's like you have these guys being trained. They're getting experience every single time. I mean, it's like having refs in any other sport.
Yeah. So like literally this email, I'll read it to you right here. This is what they said. So this got sent to me asking if I want to be it. You'll be in the thick of the action, weighing each pro's catch and managing the score tracker, which, mind you, this is the official deal for BPT. The sport's only live scoring system. You'll also learn from the biggest names in bass fishing, KVD, Tim Horton, Wheeler. They list a bunch of them here, and a bunch more stars. Will pay you $100 per day that you're on the water, up to $500, and give you exclusive MLF swag bag and like just a bunch of other stuff. But basically, they're saying you are recruited to do all this.
See, this is just like getting fans involved.
That's what I'm worried about. It's basically just getting fans involved in being the officials. It doesn't seem like they're able to actually sustain having officials for all these events.
Yeah. See,
so I guess why do you think they're doing away with the old style then, Adam?
I don't think they have enough money to travel all the officials and everything around. It's expensive. But like, this is also the reason that nobody has done these style of events. Is that you have to lean on the community basically now. And like, we shouldn't, like, this is my thing. Do I think this is good? Yes. I hope the sport gets to this level where they're just able to do this and they get marshals in the boat that help run this, because then at that point, it's basically like golf where you're self-reporting or you're calling a tournament official if you believe you're breaking a rule. However, we have seen in bass fishing, compared to other sports, where people will break rules and really push a gray line, whereas in golf those rules are very cut and dry. So yeah, I think it's an interesting thing going on, but I think you have to talk about it, that they're going away from having these same officials at every event to now it will be locals. Like, it's going to be fans that are going to be the marshals. And what's to say, you hope this isn't the case, but it's the question. What if a scale is jumping between two numbers and they just give them the one number? Like Bobby Lane or Crest last year by 1 ounce at the last second. That's $300,000. What if a fan makes that decision, not a paid marshal?
Yeah, or the fan gets paired with their favorite angler or whatever. Like, what are the odds that they're gonna call it clean?
That's basically the integrity of it, right? Like, you would hope that the pros will self-report themselves. It's just with the struggling bass industry, in the sense of half the people are going broke, like, you kind of question it,
Right. But I guess, like, to play, and I agree with most of what you guys are saying, but like, I guess to play like devil's advocate, like the guys that were the paid marshals before, right? It was just like a traveling crew. Like I assume like those guys are probably fans of tournament bass fishing as well. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, so I mean, I guess you just hope for integrity's sake that it's goes well. And I mean, like you said, high school kids do it for the Champions Tour. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I do think it's something that's going to get brought up and
level,
people are going to complain about it and stuff like that. But I think for the betterment of the sport, hopefully it works. Because if it does, then you're going to see, I mean, CPR, conservation wise, like you're going to see a lot more better things happen because of this if it does work out. So I just thought it was something interesting to bring up. But anyways, Pink, what in the world is going on over on your end?
Okay, so I just happened on this one. So this did not happen here. This was in France, but it's related to here. So I thought it was good. So literally,
how
like,
on earth could something be related to here from France?
I'm getting there.
I know.
So
I'm so excited.
All right. Angler in France caught what is being considered the new, well, not IGFA, I guess, because it's not like ultra legit, but considered the new world record goldfish. Okay. Which is not like these IGFA records are obviously like super legit. They go by like, species and every like very specific, like even if it's a subspecies, they'll consider something different. So it's not that, but they call goldfish kind of all lump into one thing, whether it's different types of carp or whatever. But if they're catching them, they're golden color, bright orange, whatever, like a goldfish in the pet store, they're just calling them goldfish. Okay. So the current, as of literally 2 days ago, world record was from Minnesota, Brainerd Lakes area from 2019. It was like a 30 some pounder. Okay. Somebody caught up there.
You said goldfish?
Goldfish. Yep.
Like house pet goldfish.
Yeah. So, yeah.
hog.
Anyway, yeah.
Hog.
Beast,
Just
right?
any.
So I think
Not just
the current
gold.
IGFA record, which is like genetically correct as being a goldfish, is like 6 pounds. But they catch these other like weird species like carp and stuff that look the same coloration and everything, and they just call them goldfish. So, like I said, this is just kind of the like general folk world record. It was 30 pounds, Brainerd Lakes area, 2019. The one that was caught 2 days ago in France, 67 pounds. Okay.
Oof.
37 pound blowout.
67 pounds.
67 pound goldfish. And the guy caught it in
Dude, is that heavier than the Minnesota state record muskie that was caught out of Mille Lacs last year?
I would think so, because the world record's like 69 pounds.
I think the Minnesota record last year was like 61 or something.
Yeah. And the picture is incredible. Okay. This thing is a blimp.
Can you send it in the group chat right now?
Yeah.
I'll throw this up. I'll throw this up in the episode. Let me mark.
So like I
down
said,
what
the reason that it's kind of relevant to like here is just because most people probably didn't know this, but the one that was caught before was out of Brainerd. So
what lake in Brainerd?
I had no idea.
I don't know exactly what lake. That
would be sick if you found it, because Will might have fished it growing up, and it would kind of be mind bending if you told him all of a sudden the world record goldfish.
And like realistically, I think that it was like some type of like buffalo, that was like had a gold coloration, but whatever. People just call them a goldfish to call her good. But yeah, this one in particular,
oh my God,
just a blimp, dude. And I guess the guy, so this fish, these guys like knew about it, right? So is a private like carp fishing club, like they have their own lake and everything. This is where these guys were fishing, and so they had like seen this fish in there. No one ever caught it before, and they called it the carrot because they would see it and they like that it was like this mythical fish, right? And this guy just happened to finally stick it, and 67 pounder. So there you go.
That is incredible.
Unofficial new world record goldfish. So sorry, Brainerd Lakes area, but France took, and of course it's some like bougie private club, right? They said it's in the Champagne region. I was like, come on, no.
You're
Dude,
like,
I'm
you
trying.
didn't
I
even
want
make
to.
this up.
I want to go there. I want to fish the carp club
But
pond.
Dude,
yeah.
I actually, I mean, this is kind of a side tangent off of this, but thinking of that European club, do you guys remember, Pink? You might have watched this back in the day. You remember when John B went to Europe and did that like carp fishing tour with those
Yeah.
two kids? That was like actually pretty cool to like see how, like, obviously, because carp are enormous over there, and in the sense of like that's their main game fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
People
like it
just
was
hate
cool to see like the intricacies and everything to what they do out there. It was actually a really cool trip. I remember watching that and like it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Carp
it was
Go
sick
ahead.
when they brought those guys over here, and then they went and fished for them, like on the Great Lakes and stuff. And they took them to all their little spots to carp fish because it was like they have their own techniques and all this stuff, right? So it was like to
Dude,
see them here going after them was kind of sick too.
yeah, Will, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, talking carp, like that. I used to think like they're just a trash fish, you know, of course, like everybody does. But I actually caught some on my fly rod this summer, and dude, it's like they call it like the poor man's bonefish, you know, because you're like wading these like flats in lakes, you know,
Yep.
like catching them on a fly rod. It's like it's like you're saltwater fishing almost, you know. It's really cool. I was geeking out on it. I was into it for a while.
Dude,
Dude,
and
they
I think
fight.
like actually if you could figure out how to catch the buffalo and carp that are on Lake Minnetonka, it would be unbelievable. Because they're like legitimate 30 to 50 pounders. Like they are so big. And
Yeah.
I just roam around eating French fries and whatever everybody drops in the lake, but they're so big.
Dude, and like
But
you can do like Will was talking about, like sick to like kind of test your skills, right? If you're like a salt angler, but you live up here, and like maybe do a couple bonefish trips, that type of thing. But like even if you're into
oh, Pink's mic cut out again. Not quite back. If you don't
He
watch
will
on
be.
YouTube, you need to be here for all the time Pink's mic cuts out.
He'll
Nah,
be
he's
back
still
soon.
gone.
back, I got it.
Now he's back.
I was gonna say if you're into that, like it's totally a game where you can even you know, if you're like a spear fisherman or something, like up here it's totally legal to spearfish for rough fish. Like if you were on some of these really clear bodies of water that have mags in them, you can go down there and like spearfish for them and kind of like play that game, hone your skills doing that before you go out
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, dude, it was like a great way to like stay sharp with the fly, because a lot of times like when you're trout fishing, like you don't have to make super long casts and you don't have to be like super accurate, but it was like an awesome way to like, we had my boat out there and like we had my big Yeti set up on the front, like, you know, like we're totally like I needed a push pole, dude, because like it was like we were on the flats like cruising, like I just pretended I was in, you know, somewhere cooler. But yeah, it was it was sweet. Yeah, it was really cool.
And there's giants, dude. Like
Yeah, and they're
unreal.
hard to catch, dude. They're tough.
Yeah,
man.
they're spooky.
super spooky.
No,
So
that's cool. Good story, Pink. All right, well, what in the world is going on? What do you got going on?
So I just want to touch on this a little bit. I don't know if you guys have been following this case at all of the 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered. You guys seen this?
I honestly did not know this existed until you texted me, which could also be why we haven't seen any results, which you're going to bring up.
So this happened, I want to say not last week, but the week before. 4 college kids. It's like a horrific story, but it's like a Saturday night. They're all like downtown, whatever. They go back to their house, and there's like 6 people that live in like this big college house. It's like all girls, I think. And then, so it's 3 girls, and then one of their boyfriends were the ones that got murdered. But someone comes into the house at some point after bar close and stabs and murders 4 of these college students, and is like still on the run. Like no suspects, no arrests have been made. Like they can't figure it out. And it was like, by all accounts, a horrific crime scene. Like obviously, like blood
What the
everywhere. Like, and then the craziest thing is, so there was 2 other roommates that were home when it happened, and they didn't even wake up when they found out in the morning. The next morning, they're like, "Oh, where's so and so?" Like, open the door, and then it's just a, you know, scene out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, yeah, dude, like bad. And so it's in Moscow, Idaho, which is not a very big town. And so like obviously people are like up in arms, like what's going on? Is there a serial, you know, murderer here in town. And yeah, no arrests have been made. Like, I don't know if they have any good leads, but like kind of crazy. You got to think there's some evidence there.
There's gotta be, dude.
Yeah, they got to have something going on, and they just haven't let anything out yet.
Which that could be what it is, that they're withholding information from the public because, you know, maybe they're close to making an arrest. But like, dude, like the fact that someone could go in there and stab and kill 4 different people, like, I don't know. Like, you think somebody would, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, and that campus has got to be just.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine
destroyed
that
right
happening
now.
on a campus I went to or anything. You know, that's always like worst case, like, you know, nightmare scenario. Obviously, like any of the school shootings that happen or whatever, and then that, like, you never want that. So
right, like I've read that a lot of parents are like, because this was right before Thanksgiving, like they're not letting their kids go back to campus until they.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, I would. Me as college student wouldn't go back probably.
Exactly.
No, especially when they're like, yeah, we have no idea who did this.
Yeah.
Like, someone just walked into this college house and just stabbed 4 college kids and murdered them.
Yeah,
so messed up, dude.
Especially, so is that Moscow? Where is that in Idaho?
I want to say it's like sort of north central Idaho. I'm not entirely.
Is that
sure,
like
though.
up by Coeur d'Alene?
I don't think it's that far north.
But doesn't Coeur d'Alene have like a bunch of old school history with like gangs, and used to be not necessarily Hell's Angels base camp, but something like that?
Moscow is just like right on the Washington border. It's like straight to the.
It's just south of Spokane, actually.
Yep.
A little bit.
Yep.
Okay, so it's close to like, well, it's close to Spokane. It could
right
be
on the border.
Yeah. I just remember, like, I remember Coeur d'Alene is known for back in the day being like a summer home for, I don't know if it's Hell's Angels or not. I would have to do more research on that, but old time gang activity. Like,
yeah, I don't think it is anymore. I mean, Coeur d'Alene is pretty fancy now.
Yeah, it's pretty bougie in there, dude.
Yeah, I do know that, and it's one of the places I really want to go in my life.
It's
but
sick.
Like, yeah, so it could be like remnants of that, or you know, whatever. Like, there's, I don't know, it's up in the mountains. Shit goes down up in the mountains.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's a terrible like situation for sure. Hopefully, there's some updates come out about that.
I know we'll have to keep an eye on it in the coming weeks because, like, I just want to know like who they're gonna arrest. Like, who would do this? Like, is it like some college kid that was like stalking one of these girls? Like, you don't know. I mean, or is it just like some like random like creepy neighbor guy? Like, I don't know, but to kill 4 people with a knife is pretty intense. So,
well, I just feel like to get away with that in like 2022, like, I don't know, man.
Like, yeah, I feel like that'll end up coming out. There's too many cameras and just everything going on these days.
There's got to be evidence all over the place. I mean, I don't know, but something to keep an eye on. I'm surprised that it's not like, I thought it was national news, but maybe it's not. It might just be.
I literally heard nothing of this.
This was like real recent though.
Yeah, this was, I want to say it was last week or the week. I think it was the week before last week, because I was going to talk about it last week and I just didn't. So I think it was the week before last week. So fairly recent, but also still like you'd think an arrest would have been made by now. So,
jeez.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, you got to be careful out there, man. This place is crazy.
World is a crazy place. Well, moving on from one death to another death. This is just
good
small
segue.
Yeah, there we go. That's how we get paid big bucks. No, I just sent this to the group, and I was kind of talking to Will about beforehand. I had forgot this was a thing. My mom actually just sent this article to me, and I thought it was interesting to bring up. But there's this article on Fox 9 from around just right around Thanksgiving, and just really plainly, the article just says there was more than 100 geese and 25 ducks found dead on Minnesota Lake, and it was down by Waseca. And they didn't necessarily publish. I mean, by this time they might know something, but it's unknown if it was a bird flu. I'd imagine it had to have been the bird flu, but I just look at the pictures in the article, Pink. If you scroll down, and it's just like dead birds on top of the ice.
Yeah.
It's just kind of wild. And I was like, did someone just have a rampage and shoot him with a gun? But like, no, like it's just a ton of dead birds. So I just found that was super interesting. Just like one day you're just driving by a lake and you're like, all the birds are dead.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
This
Curious
is a good
to see what they say, like what the cause was.
This is a good segue. So, just down the road a little bit in Butte, Montana, there was a huge copper mine there. Like that was what Butte was known for, and it's since been pretty much shut down. But there's a giant. It's called the Berkeley Pit. It's basically this huge lake of toxic waste from the mines, and they have strategically placed like people. This is an actual job. Like you sit in a guard tower kind of on the lake, and then when the birds try to land on it, they like hit sirens and they'll shoot blanks at them and stuff, because if the birds spend more than like, I don't know what it is, a half hour on the lake and drink the water, then their esophaguses burn up and they die because the water is that toxic.
God,
aren't you glad we have places like that on this earth?
Isn't that something? It's like one of the
That's
largest
crazy.
I can't remember, there's this certain term they use for it, super fund or super something. Anyways, it's super toxic. I work with a guy who's from Butte, and he said like when they were kids they used to bring them down there and you could like throw like a empty pop bottle in there, like a can of Coke or whatever, and it would just bubble and disintegrate.
Yeah, some of that environmental cleanup stuff, dude, is just like mind-blowingly bad.
Yes. So yeah, there's a guy that gets paid to sit and make sure the birds don't land
Like
on
haze the geese away.
yes, on the pit.
Haze the geese away.
Yeah, kind of a sweet job.
Yeah. Pink, did you have anything else going on in the world?
What? Yeah, I read about one more that I thought was interesting, that Indiana, which is like, I don't know, I feel like flies under the radar kind of as like a outdoors state, but there's quite, a lot of hunting and fishing goes on in that state. But first time in a long time I've heard about this, and this was a first in Indiana, as far as I know, ever, that they actually issued a hunter a lifetime ban of hunting privileges for the state of Indiana. And it was, I mean, sounds like it was a multiple state thing. There was like 4 or 5 states involved, and they all had different levels of like sentencing or whatever. But Indiana threw down the harshest penalty, which was like his home state, I guess. Was a guy that was found guilty, convicted of poaching turkeys for a number of years. Sounded like 2019, they kind of slapped his wrist about it, and I guess didn't maybe issue that much other than a fine. But I guess as of last week and a half ago, they dropped the hammer on this guy, and I think they're trying to use him as an example about, like poaching and that kind of thing. Sounded like he was like basically hunting out of season, taking like friends, family out to just like smash turkeys all year long. So when they, I guess, like, I don't know if they like raided his place or whatever during their search, they turned up evidence of like 83, I think, turkeys that had been poached in the past couple of years.
Of turkeys.
Gosh, wow.
So, and like the guy was keeping, like shotgun shells with like the date on them and everything of all these kills.
So he was a big time idiot.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's like a weird deal, right? Like this guy was like getting off on smashing turkeys, and like he was probably posting on like social media too, right? All this stuff, because that's the crazy thing. You see these stories like this, like somebody poaches some big deer or something, and they like post it on Instagram and they get caught like immediately. It's like these guys are just next level bad. But yeah, they hit him with a ton of fines too. Like all these different states came down with some different fines and stuff, but pretty big deal to like hear about that. I think they're trying to make examples of some of these people, like, in the past year or two, about these big like game violations, and just trying to get people to quit doing it. But
which is probably smart with how much everything has exploded lately, like kind of
but yeah, to see a lifetime ban in any of the outdoor sports is a pretty big deal. So
yeah, good for Indiana. I mean, that's not something like usually you don't see that. I don't think I can think of a lifetime ban that has been handed down to a poacher. So
yeah, so whatever. I mean, we'll see if anything more comes of that, or in the future, whatever game violations come up, if they start getting more of like a harsh penalty for it. Because in the past they would just kind of like monetize it and say, oh, we think these animals are like worth this much to the state, and then they hit them with a fine. But
yeah, exactly, and it ends up being like 10 G's or I don't know, whatever.
yeah, which is
was
still
there? Speaking back to some other poaching thing that we talked about in another podcast, do we have any follow up on that Bomar deal or whatever it was called?
so.
Has anything happened, Pink? I'm not the hunter here. I just
From
remember
what
it was
I
something we talked
understand,
about.
it kind of is just kind of like falling off the radar, mainly because I think they had so much they posted about it and they got so much backlash that I think they just tried to squash it. So there's been like very little additional information that's come out, especially like from their social media platforms.
Well, it's probably a big legal battle now. We probably won't hear about it for months or whatever.
Well, and I think they were like their main concern was like, losing all their sponsorship and stuff like that, which they did. They like these exact people have had that happen before. Like they got dropped by Under Armour, like 4 or 5 years ago now for like they had a video come out where they speared this bear, which the video.
Your mic went out, Pink.
Lost Ryan there.
Well, we will get Ryan back. But anyways, yeah. Will, do you have anything?
Well, I guess from my understanding on this current incident, like Ryan said, there's been other stuff, but that the case is closed, I think, from a legal standpoint because they pleaded no contest. So I think like I do you know, Ryan? Are you there?
Well, they took the hit on the like conspiracy charge, and that was it. And that was all they got like fined with. And it was just because they essentially are admitting that, yeah, they probably should have known that this stuff was going on behind the scenes / they were semi-involved in it. So they ended up being like charged with that, which was like a pretty minor thing in the grand scheme of like what the case was about.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of people viewed it as like, well, you obviously did something wrong if you're getting charged with something. So I think that was the big backlash they had on their.
Oh, we lost Pink again. But yeah. No, but yeah, there's your update on the Bomar one. But no, I got one more thing and what in the world is going on, and then we'll kind of move on. But it is officially that time of year, Will, and I'm sure you remember this from living in northern Minnesota. It is officially a giant crack opened up in front of all the resorts on Red Lake season.
Yeah, that didn't take long this year.
It's got to be. I don't actually think it's every year, but it's every other year. Like,
and what they're calling there's 200 people out.
Yeah, Brock was out there actually. I saw in a Snap story that he had a I actually laughed pretty hard. He had one of those Snapchat filters of the Tokyo Drift music with one of those fan planes just going across the crack going to get people, and I laughed pretty hard at that actually.
I think they got everybody off, so that's the good thing.
But, yeah, they got everyone off, and I saw there was a ton of posts from like In Depth Outdoors and Target Walleye shared it, and there's all the resorts. But it's just hilarious because I saw the post by Beltrami County, probably like 15 minutes after the post, and it was like emergency get off the ice, and I was like, I haven't seen that before. Like normally it's not like emergency get off the ice ASAP. Like normally it's like, hey, a crack's opened up, so kind of work your way. Well, you looked at this one, this thing was moving fast. Like
it was huge. Yeah,
it's a big crack in the ice. Like if you're listening to this from a place where there's not much ice fishing, like this is your worst nightmare. Like this is exactly what happened. A giant lake, wind blew the lake open. It looked like about a 60 to 100 foot wide crack.
So I did see some pictures. It must have been before the crack got wider, but they were like throwing some plywood down basically to like get people off.
Yeah, they had like a bridge. I think it was JR's that pulled it out there, and there was like a bridge or whatever. But yeah, it looked really big from the aerial shots anyways. Like it was getting
it wasn't one of the little cracks. Like this was a big one. And it made me think of, because like every year they post pictures of like, oh, the whole lake's frozen or whatever from aerial stuff. And it's like, there's no way that whole lake was frozen if that much ice moved.
Right.
Like it was a lot of ice that moved. Like a lot.
Well, and like it's a terrible situation if you're on the lake, right? But it's also like you don't have that much sympathy for the people that like got out there mega early and like ended up, it's like that's one of the risks, especially there. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. And I mean, I guess intrigued to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. And I know it gets posted every year too, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's just the resorts doing it. They push the limit every year." And I mean, obviously, it's safe. Like the ice is safe right now. It was when they were going up there to fish. Like there's 7 inches, but like as we know with big winds on Red, like if you're listening and you don't know how big Red Lake is, like it's like the size of Lake St. Clair. And it's just all 8 feet deep. So it just freezes immediately. But there's got to be some responsibility here from, you would think, the resorts or whatever. Just why are we letting people out on days it's that windy?
I don't know. I mean,
I also know it is, you assume the risk or whatever going out, but like there's got to be something one of these days where someone's going to die and someone's going to get sued really bad, right?
Maybe, but it's like at the same time, these people want to be on the lake, and the resorts, I guess, probably can't be the people saying that people can or cannot do it.
Right. I mean, it's sort of like, well, if you're one of the resorts up there, this is how I look at it. And if every other resort is letting people out and you're not, you got to be like, well, I'm losing out on X amount of dollars, for one.
Yeah.
And two, like if everyone else is doing it, then I should probably do it too. I mean, I think it's a trickle down. Like as soon as Rogers and JR starts letting people out, it's like, it's
everybody's like, well, we got to let people out now.
Well, and they're the experts, right? I mean, like they had a bridge ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and props to them. I mean, it was a quick response.
Yeah.
But I would hate to be the guys that have to like make that call. Every year it's like, well, when do we let them out? When do we let them out? And then it's like, all right, we're open. And then it's just like the floodgates open, So
yeah, I think, I mean, I guess the one improvement I think we could see maybe from all those resorts, and it's a thing that happens. I think Lake of the Woods is really good at it. A lot of their resorts kind of abide by the same thing and go by each other with like Zipple Bay and like making sure 4 Mile and everything's really frozen before they're letting anyone out. But I think like for example, we know Red freezes really early, and the economic impact from ice fishermen heading up to that area, like you can't shut that down. But you would think like when it's going to blow 25 to 30 out of the south, and more than likely Beltrami County is going to get called because the ice is going to crack open, you would think most resorts that day should like look at whoever's there and be like, hey guys, all together as a collective, be like, we're not letting people out today because it's probably going to crack open and we're going to have an issue.
Yeah, I think the problem you run into there is you got these people that are driving up from the cities to get up there. So it's like you got these people that are driving, they get there just to find out they can't go out. It's not like there's, this would be like a day of thing. It's not like they're going to say, oh, next weekend we're probably going to shut her down.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're going to have to know what the winds are going to be.
It's like impossible to predict. So,
and there's people that don't care.
No,
like they're like, oh, crack, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, everybody got off.
They'll come. Yeah,
what it is, what it is.
It's a thing every year. So the good old Red Lake cracked open, and I'm sure in probably looking at the forecast, in about a week from now, we'll hear people driving trucks and wheelhouses out there.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're smashing the walleye. So
is the bite pretty good? I actually haven't even checked in.
I've just been seeing pics, man. Like, seems like people are smashing them.
Yeah, well, pretty typical early ice red.
Yeah.
I actually think Lake of the Woods is way more fun, in my opinion, early ice, but that normally doesn't happen until about December 10th. So if you're listening to this and you want somewhere to go to Lake of the Woods. It's pretty fun. Anyways, we will go into, I think, just our last segment for the night, and we'll touch on Pink just got back from Montana, so some story time on how Pink's good old, you were whitetail hunting, right? Or did you have a muley tag?
Both.
Oh, okay. So he was hunting deer.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably keep this one fairly short. It was just pretty much like a 4-day rip. I went out there Wednesday, so we hunted Thursday, Friday, Saturday, half day Sunday, came back. So, just game plan was just pretty much meat hunt. I mean, we just had doe tags. So there was 3 of us, me, my buddy, TJ, he's like out in Washington State. He's from here, but he lives out there now. Like right around Spokane area. And then, my dad too, we went out. So we just, whatever, we've been wanting to hunt deer out there for a while. I haven't really spent too much time in Montana, on the east side there. So we wanted to just get out there. And we just got some doe tags. That's like they have some different like tag systems where you can get like antlerless deer tags pretty easy. So we had a couple of mule deer tags and a few whitetail tags too. And like just from some of the other hunts that we had this year, we figured, oh, we'll go out there, see if we can get a couple down and just get some more meat. So my buddy actually drove out there the day before us. So he drove out Tuesday and got there and to hunt Wednesday. And I was like at work Wednesday, getting everything ready, coming home, and he like texted me. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I got one." So we were stuck before we even got out there. He already had one down, a nice mule deer that he shot. And then I got out there Thursday morning. We got there, set up our base camp. We just put up like a wall tent up this little spot, and the weather was really good for the whole trip, which I was kind of worried about. I mean, this time of year, especially in that eastern part of the state, sometimes the temps just fall off, and you're dealing with way below freezing stuff. Luckily, there was like very little snow. I think most of the stuff we were hunting in was kind of like lower hills with like some ravines and stuff mixed in. And there were areas where the snow that we'd gotten had drifted, like, in the week prior, but we didn't have any snow while we were there. I know, Will, you were saying you guys had a pretty good snowstorm in like the middle part of the state. What, Saturday or something?
When I was coming back, Sunday.
Oh, it was Sunday. Okay.
Good. But I do know that like over here, they got snow, I think, probably about the same time you were out here. So I think most of it just stuck to the west. I don't think it ever got over to the eastern side.
Yeah, I think sometimes like hangs up when it hits the mountains, and it doesn't make it across that plains area very much. But yeah, we didn't have any snow while we were there. But the snow we had was already on the ground was good because we were able to see like some tracks and stuff from the past few days and everything. So that first day we got out there and we just started running ridge tops, basically just trying to get glass on anything. Since like right now they're still they were still rutting hard. Like the mule deer bucks were and even the whitetails. I've seen quite a few bucks, dog, and does, which was super sick because like around here the whitetail rut's pretty much over with already. I mean, you might have one hot doe still running around, but yeah, they were going hard out there. And that first day we got on a group like 30 minutes in. We're running this ridge top, see a small herd, and like I said, I just had doe tags. We were like, let's go get them, and we got on them like 3 times. The first time there were more there than we thought, so we get in on this group maybe 100 yards out, and they're moving away from us. We don't really have a shot. And then we jump. There's a really nice muley buck with a doe bedded like 40 yards, and we blow them out of this little brushy ravine, just never had a chance. And so we kind of watch them. And that's kind of the cool thing about that eastern part of the state. It's like open. There's still timber, but you can see really far if you get up, on top of these little crests and ridge lines. So we watch them go out there, maybe, I don't know, 500-600 yards, and they chill out, which is kind of like, that's a mule deer thing. Like they don't just blow out, and they chilled for a while. We watched them drop into the next little cut, and then we kind of regroup, go over there again, get on them, and actually crawl in on the group. And I'm like belly crawling up this little rock outcrop thing, get right to the top of it. And I'm looking down, and I got like a really nice 4x4 buck right in front of me. And I'm like, sick, because like I don't have a buck tag, right? And I'm watching this nice buck, and then there's like a spike buck bedded right next to him, and we watched this group of like 8 go into this cut. So we're just like trying to pick it apart. There's just a little bit of brush in the bottom, just some like aspen down in there, and just like cannot find the rest of these deer. And this is just a small little ravine. Like we're on one side, deer right in the bottom. They're maybe 50 yards. And so we're just laying there for a while. And I mean, I'm like laying behind my rifle, just like getting ready, and like couldn't pick them out. So then we decided we're going to back out, look, and kind of get around the other side of the cut and look down in. Did that. Was able to find like one doe down in the brush, but just covered up, like no shot. And just start like literally inching up. Like I'm laying flat, and I got some good video of this too, because we were like trying to film a little bit or whatever. We're just like inching around the front of this. The hill kind of rolls around to one side, and the deer right in the bottom. So I'm trying to just get around the top of them to just try to see down even further. And eventually our wind must have swirled or something. And all of a sudden, both the bucks get real alert and start kind of going out. And I figure, okay, the doe is going to come out of the brush. I just need to get in a position to shoot because it was real steep, and I had nothing to. I had a bipod on my rifle, but I had nothing to rest it on because it's so steep. So I'm like, I got to get to this rock up here. So I start moving forward, and I mean, we'd been sitting in this spot for like an hour now, just waiting for them to stand because they were.
Oh, there goes Pink's mic. He will be back in a brief second.
He's getting really good at. He fixes it really fast now.
Yeah, he catches himself pretty fast when he sees it.
Yeah, it's usually only like.
There's like a little box that has to pop up, and then I'm good. Anyway, so I'm waiting for them to stand. They, whatever, the wind swirls, they blow up, they start moving out. I basically need to run like 15 feet to get to this rock so I can lay down. So I get to there, throw the rifle down on there, get behind it. And like as I'm moving in on the rock, the entire group that we were like looking for blows out. They are literally bedded 20 yards straight below us. We've been there for like an hour and like never even knew they were there. So come over the top, they blow up, of course, and there's like all these does in there. So I'm like trying to get on one, and they're just moving too much. And I was like, I don't just want
to. Oh, we lost him again. He will be back here in a second. Will, is this the same type of hunting you were doing?
Yeah,
like in the ravines and that all sort of.
Yeah, I was out on the kind of the eastern side of the state where I was, but yeah, it's kind of deceiving country out there because it's fairly flat, but all those little cuts, there's a lot of places for them to hide, you know. So they can, like Ryan said, be 20 yards below and you have no idea. So
yeah, and it's a fun game, right? Because like you're watching them, you're waiting for them to get in a good position to make a play on them, and then you're kind of this cat and mouse thing the whole time. So anyway, we blow them up, right? And I'm like, God damn it, you know. And we watch them go maybe another 400 yards, and then they chill out again, and then they're just kind of trotting up, and they go over the next, like the highest ridge point we could see. So then we were just kind of like bummed, like I can't believe they were right here. And then we're like, all right, let's go get them, you know. So we just grab our stuff, start cruising up, and like literally every drainage we go into was like bucks chasing does and all this stuff. So it was really, you know, it was pretty exciting. And I was like kicking myself for not having a buck tag on this hunt. I was like, I saw so many nice bucks. And so eventually we catch up to this group, and we see the little patch of timber they went into. And now we're probably about 2 miles from where we started at this point. And we're moving in on them, and we're getting close to this timber patch, and then all of a sudden we just see one deer come cruising out, and it's like a smaller, like a, you know, year-old whatever doe comes cruising out, and we're like, oh, you know, maybe there's another one there, and boom, then the big doe steps out, and I get up onto the crest of the hill, get on the bipod and everything, and it was kind of a sick moment because all three of us were kind of hunting together. So we get on this thing, you know, and I'm laying down with the rifle, and my buddy's ranging them, and he's like, 200 yards or whatever, and I'm like, yep, all right, you know, ready to go. So, you know, he's ranging them. My dad's sitting there on the glass, like watching the whole thing. I'm laying down. I got a perfect like broadside, whatever, and I'm just laying down, and I squeeze one off, and it was just that click because it was like at this moment like dead flat calm because we're kind of behind this thing. And it was like you could hear the rifle crack, and you could like hear the bullet hit, you know, that like whack. And I was like, oh yeah, you know. And goes down, maybe runs like 50 yards and crashes in the bottom of this ravine, and we're all just fired up, dude, you know. And so we go down there, and it was sick. And yeah, I mean, she was down right there. So we spent the rest of that day just like we just cut it up right there and started packing meat. And then we pretty much hunted our way out too, which was, you know, we had, like I said, about 2 mile pack out. So we just split all the weight, made it in one trip, and we get on top of some of these ravines, and we're just glassing. We turned up a bunch of mule deer that night too, just watching some of these big basins. Couple nice bucks, a few does, whatever. But that was kind of like day one. So it was like pretty exciting way to kick it off. So we had 2 deer in camp literally then after the night that I got there. And then those were the only 2 mule deer tags we had. So then basically the rest of the trip, we were trying to focus on whitetails, which we spent the next day kind of looking around, and we were not finding them at all. So I've been there earlier in the season, the past couple of years, and seen tons. But apparently, like later in the year, they just vacate out of that section. So then we're kind of scrambling a little bit, trying to figure out where we're going to go. And I honestly haven't used this that much, and this is not like a plug, but so that like, on X maps, like everybody uses that now. So there's a feature on there that I think is relatively new, and I personally have never really messed with it. But after this trip, I am sold on it. So they put a map layer in there that shows like winter ranges for a lot of different game species. And there's literally like a layer in there for like whitetail winter range, right? So I put that on, and I mean, yeah, it just generally shows like some areas, like boxes. So we're just looking for areas where like some public land like cut into those. So my buddy ends up having to drive back to Washington the next day. So he didn't hunt. He's like, he had gotten his deer out whole that first day. So he had it hanging in camp, and he just spent the day like cutting it up, and then he bailed to drive home because he had like, I think it's like 15 or 16 hours for him. It was pretty good poke. And so me and my dad are like, all right, let's just try to get some of these whitetails done, because we had like, I think 2 tags left. And so we found an area that was like, I don't know, maybe like 10 miles away or so from where we were camped. That was like this, whitetail winter range overlapping with some public land. We drive up in there, dude. We go one ridge over from the road, because like, seems like, anywhere you hunt late in the season, like around the road, there's just like not much game. They just get so used to people driving around or getting shot at or whatever, they just dump over that first ridge. So that was our game plan. It was like, we're just going to hike up over this first one and just start glassing. From the time we left the truck to the time we got back that night, literally every drainage we walked into was slam full of deer. And like I said, we literally just picked a spot on the map where this stuff all overlapped, and we're like, yeah, let's just check it out. And it was just like, we were in the zone. So I was like, this is legit. Like I was pretty sold on that. But yeah, we spent some time in like a lot of ground that we've never been to before, which can be hit or miss, I suppose. But it was super fun. Like that was honestly, we didn't kill one that day. That was Saturday, but that was probably honestly one of the best like days of deer hunting I've had in a long time, man. I think we probably got in on like in range of about 27. I think that's what we ended up with, like 27 deer, and I don't know, maybe a dozen bucks that day, which was sick. I mean, like, you'd come over a ridge, and we're kind of just like coming over, trying not to get skyline, and then just glassing all the timber and everything. And we had like a mix of mule deer and whitetails. Saw a couple like slammer muley bucks. So I was definitely dropping some pins like on basins that I'm going to be coming back to, but it was kind of interesting. And, we got into some areas. There was that part of Montana I know is not known for like elk numbers or anything, but there was, we were cutting elk tracks and seeing some rubs from, earlier in the year and stuff. And we got into one kind of like butte section where we cut some fresh cat tracks up there, which was cool. It's always
cool, yeah.
Always fun to be in like an area where, they're living and stuff.
Mhm.
We never got eyes on them, but they were pretty fresh. They were from that day for sure. Yeah, so I don't know, and glassed up a couple of porcupines, which I've made a point of hunting pretty hard out there when I go out in the early season. But they got
of your meat season porcupine pics you showed me are just outrageous.
Yeah,
they got the pass this time though.
They got the pass, but I got their number, dude. But
I just never, like, as a guy who doesn't hunt, like, I never realized how big a porcupine is until he like showed me pictures of them, and they're enormous.
They get big, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I don't think, the average one's not that big, but we've been able to find some pretty big dogs out there.
Some smashers, so smasher
Yeah.
porcupines.
So I said
Yeah.
it's like we got to
Bowling
figure
ball.
out. When I told Sam Sobiak about that, and he was like hyped about the porky thing like earlier this year, and I've talked to him a couple years about it now, and I was like, "Do you got to come out? Like, we'll just go with the bows and we'll just run around and go get them up in the hills and stuff." And he's like, "Did you got to figure out like a scoring system for them?" Because like we're killing these big ones, and like nobody cares. Right? Like, most people don't hunt them or do anything, or nobody really targets them. I'll say like people happen upon them and maybe shoot one, but like we've been like hunting them and like and like I've been like I'm like learning where they live and like how to track them down, dude. Like it's on.
You could do like you could like do skull measurement, or you could like do like square like a berry, you know, from the nose to the tail.
I know. So like if anybody's got any ideas on how to score one, let us know.
How to score a porcupine.
We're actively searching for a scoring method for these so we can determine what a booner is.
Right. Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was fun. And like we never ended up getting a whitetail out of the deal. We got a really close chance on one. We had there was some it seemed like it was going to start to snow. We had some weather moving in, the wind was cranking up. It was just like a flurry. It never actually like piled up or anything. But we were all sweaty from hiking or whatever. So we kind of bailed down into this draw to just get out of the wind and just change so we could get some dry clothes on. And we're literally dropping down and we get this, there's a whitetail. It must've been bedded right there. Gets up at like 40 yards. And, my dad took a shot at it and I'm literally like standing right next to him. From my angle, the body was obscured from like a tree. So I'm literally just looking at this deer. Like I can see its head on one side and its ass on the other side. And he's like, setting his pack down this whole thing. He's like, "Oh, they're right here," and pulls up, takes a shot. And I just see like wood blow off the side of the tree. And I'm like, the bullet got like deflected off the side of it or whatever. And didn't end up getting it. So we ended up just tracking it just to make sure it wasn't a hit or whatever, but it was super close. Right? It was like 40-yard shot. And it just didn't connect, which was a bummer, but it was, whatever, super fun. Cause that was like the fourth drainage we'd been in. So it was just like, we're on deer. Yeah. We got a shot at once. We're like, all right, whatever. Let's just go over the next hill. And we got into more on the next one. So
yeah, it's fun when you're just around them like the whole time.
I know. Yeah, it was wicked. And yeah, we try to play on Sunday morning because we're kind of like, well, we can hunt like half a day and then we probably got to bail so we don't end up getting home at like 4 a.m. because I had to work today. So I'm like, yeah, so we ended up hunting till probably like noon. And then we bailed, but we really weren't in them that day. We tried another section that was actually outside of like the winter range area, just because we had seen some deer in there one of the other days, and it was just not on. It was loaded with coyotes, but there was nothing else in there. So, yeah, but it was super fun to just go out there kind of on like a meat hunt, I guess. It was like low pressure, you didn't feel like, hey, we're chasing some like stud buck or whatever, and we got to make this happen. So. But it's always fun when you can kill on the first day. Like I know some people are like, oh, I just want to keep hunting, but we had more tags anyway, so it was super fun to just get out there and make it happen right away. But came home with
it's nice when you kill them on the first day. I don't care what anybody says, man. Like
yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, like I don't know, I'm not someone that probably passes a lot of like if I have a tag or something, like it's getting it. But
Pink doesn't eat tag soup very often.
I try not to, but it happens. It happens more often than I care to talk about. But that's why it's nice to get a lot of tags every year because you make some of them happen. But
for sure,
nice to get a little mule deer meat back in the freezer. It's been a couple of years since I knocked one of those down. Just haven't really had any tags. I've been hunting them in Colorado, so killed a buck a couple of years ago, and then just kind of been building points. So I haven't really had anything, but I think this Montana thing will probably be something I do pretty often now, just to be able to get out there and get some more meat.
No, that's cool. I always enjoy hearing about all of Pinkalla's falls. I basically just get to hear stories. It's always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's cool. Happy you brought some meat home, Pink. Send me those pics so I can splash in. Pick. I think you had showed me the the doe earlier today when we were eating. It was a big
Yeah,
doe.
I'll
It was a
send
really
you
big
that pic
doe.
of the one I got there.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, we are, as people know, we're transitioning into the ice fishing season. We'll be at the St. Paul Ice Show this coming weekend. And I mean, shortly after that, it's going to be full head of steam ice fishing wise. See whatever Will and Cody kind of got going on behind the scenes. I know me and Pinkalla, this is a time of year where we spend so much time with each other that we get sick of each other in about 2 months from now. So we're about to just kick that off, and it should be a great time. But I mean, do you guys have anything else you want to say? Otherwise, I think we might call her here.
No, I really don't. I think covered all our bases. So
Yeah, no, I think we did good, man. I'm bummed that like the hunting season's kind of over for not just me, but for a lot of people. But
Yeah.
I think, getting into the ice game, kind of transition into that is going to be cool. Cause it's like, I know people have been getting hyped about it. My head has not been there. Not going to lie.
No.
Like,
yeah,
I got
No, and
gotta
even,
get
I mean,
jump
I
started.
think we were even talking about this, Pink, even with starting filming season 3 and stuff. It has been a very gradual buildup this year compared to previous years. Like, we maybe already have a video out, or we've been on ice, or it's like we're on edge of like, when are we going to get on ice? And this year, with a little bit of a different plan, it's honestly much less stressful, and it has been really nice so far.
Yeah.
Actually, you want to know, Will, I'll tell you, you want to know the coolest thing that's going to happen to me by next week, by the time we film. So it'll be kind of cool.
what's that?
I just scheduled when I need to be at my house for this ATV and snowmobile to show up.
Yeah,
when
that'll
they get
be nice.
delivered. Yeah,
That'll be
so I'm pretty
huge, dude.
I'm pretty pumped about it. So
Yeah.
machines show up next week, and we'll be
That's
fishing
gonna be
shortly
awesome.
after. So yeah, we're pretty pumped.
That's better than the beer, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You haven't had this beer yet.
That's true. I haven't had it. You guys have to save me some. I'll come home for Christmas and have some.
Yeah. Well, if you're coming home for Christmas, there'll be some around. We'll save you some. Yeah. Break your PB. That'll be out soon. And yeah, we'll be at the St. Paul show this weekend. I'm sure basically after this weekend, I will hit full blown excited to go ice fishing and film this full season mode. Especially because like I was telling my family and my girlfriend and just everybody else, like, and I know Pink feels this too. When we film the Chronicles, the winter goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Like, it is so fast. So that's the nice part too. It's fun, and you blink your eyes and suddenly it's end of February and you're like, oh my God, I get to go get my boat soon. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But anyways, folks, we will tune out here, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Pass the Barb. Please rate, subscribe, tell your friends, get it out there. And
Also,
I think
one last thing. I don't think we mentioned this. Maybe we did, but the reason that Cody is not here tonight is because he has the flu. Did we say that?
No, we totally didn't. Yeah, Cody has a flu.
Cody's sick, so that's why he's not here. But he'll be here next week. So
yeah, he'll be back. Everybody, if you listen this far, like, go just bombard his socials and be like, actually, okay, here, just quick cut. We'll put this at the beginning of the show, and I'll just be like, hey, welcome to Pass the Barb. Cody Hahner is currently, he wants to quit, so go blow him up.
He's puking his guts out, man.
Yeah. No, he's puking his guts out. So we miss Cody. He'll be back next week. And please send us ideas for the weigh-in, different things you want us to rank and everything, because we got some special guests and some fun episodes coming up. So it'll definitely be fun. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Pass the Barb, and we will chat with you later.